I think Zack is probably the only player in my time playing that I saw come in as a rookie and day one was the best player that I'd played with at that position. The first day of practice at training camp, in full pads, when we had our first day of full pads, they ran a TE where the end slices inside, the tackle goes out, defensive tackle, the DN comes around him. It's one of the hardest things for linemen in general is when they switch, because the leverage is not taking on a guy, you're kind of taking your guy and then you have to pass him off and go to the next guy. And I remember watching it, and he went boom and pushed the D tackle and helped our offensive tackle by moving him further away and then reset with his left hand and knocked back the defensive end. And that is one of the hardest things for any lineman, much less a rookie. And day one, I was like, and that was against first unit. I looked over and I said, this one's a little different now. This guy, we didn't mess up this draft. It was amazing. So he's about as special a player as you can find. I think Zack Martin and Larry Allen are the two best guards in the history of the NFL. And almost by any metric that I look at, he's a technician. Notre Dame still uses him as a teaching tape. I talked to Nelson, who is one of the best guards in the NFL, still is, and I said, I think Zack's possibly the best guard ever, him and Larry Allen. Just what do you think about that? Because I know you're right up there. And Nelson talked about how when he came in, everyone tries to emulate Zack Martin. They teach at Notre Dame about the technique that Zack Martin used. And I think that's going to resonate here at Dallas long after he's gone. He'll be a teaching tape. They just don't make him with the footwork, the base, the punch, his strength, his athleticism, and then his mind. He's a rare football player.
Is it unusual for a guy with that kind of natural ability to have that work ethic that he had?
I don't know if it's rare. I just think it's his mindset. I think what makes him rare is that he doesn't have a weakness. And almost every player has some weakness somewhere, and he really didn't. I mean, I can remember going out to games and about to walk on the field, and I remember after we drafted Tyron, and then we got Travis, and then all of a sudden here comes in Zack while we had Doug and Ron. And I remember just being like, all right, we can make the game simple. It's like, what do you want to do? I don't know, get the ball into Jabbar. Everyone just like watch the sky hook. It was like, just hand it off and run right over here. And the game got simpler when we had those guys. And that was the start of the run, really, at the 14 era. We had ours from like 06 to 9 a little bit, and the O-line shuffled when they drafted those three. I mean, I feel like the runs, were really the core reason was those guys up front. And, Zack was as good as anyone, I think, who's ever played the game.
What advice would you give him about moving into retirement and enjoying it?
Oh, what advice? Let's see. Well, I think
Play a lot of
the
golf.
carpool line's going to be a big one. I think I had 11 games 2 weeks ago on the weekend and 9 this last weekend. So you're going to be a taxi cab driver, but it's a blast. All of you who have kids here know it goes by quick, but it's a really fun time for me. But for him, he's just starting that phase, and he's going to love it. He's going to be a great papa.
Listening to that speech, he might be able to do what you do now as a second career, right?
I think Zack can do anything he wants. I think he's got a knack, an instinct for just how to verbalize the game. I think he'd be a great coach. I think he'd be a great front office guy. I think he'd be great on TV. I think that, he's going to be able to do whatever he wants. He's that kind of guy. I can remember at training camp in 14, you're used to going back and going, boom, throwing it like, oh, you're about to get hit. And then I went back, and I'm like, oh, what?
You're still looking.
Oh, Witten, move over there. Yep, that's good. And I'm like, we're going to have a decent year. And I think that all starts up front.
Thanks, Tony.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
I got it.